Christina Lopez. I'm an associate editor at St. Martin's Press. I mostly work on contemporary and historical romance as well as women's fiction. I have three main things on my wish list this year. The first is a women's fiction with some sort of time bending or time twisting element. I really love time travel, but I think readers really want like a fresh take on that now. So anything that does it in a way that we haven't really seen before, I would love that. On the romance side, I would also really love something that feels like Jane the Virgin. It's my all-time favorite show, and I just love how human all the characters are and how silly it can be while also tackling some really important themes. So I would love that. And lastly, I would love a romance that feels like a Taylor Swift song and even like captures the vibe or follows the story. Like maybe the last great American dynasty or Champagne Problems. Like she has so many songs that tell stories, and I just want a book about them. I think writers can make the romantic element leap off the page if they take popular, beloved tropes and maybe vibes like early 2000s romance vibes that we all love and just give a fresh take on that, whether that's through more representation in the identities of your characters or just complex themes that maybe we really didn't see in fiction in the past, but are so prevalent now, like mental health or grief, or just layers that I think Emily Henry is really hitting with her romances. They're just like layered, complex romances, but they still feel comforting and familiar, like those romances that we all love to watch in the early 2000s. I think in order to make romances feel fresh and new, but also have that familiar, comfortable vibe, it really is about feeling relatable, making your characters relatable, making them layered and complex, while still having that escapist quality. So maybe the romance is so good and the chemistry is so strong that we just have to keep reading and we have to see what happens between these characters. But the main character maybe is complex. We don't always love her or we don't always agree with her. Um, I think just having these elements that feel a bit more true to life and are more relatable to a lot of people, while also maintaining that escapist quality of like, oh, this love is so perfect, or I just love this, I love the love interest or something, would really capture that kind of relatable but still escapist vibe. Jane the Virgin is my favorite show for so many reasons, but the elements of magic just hit with me because they are so silly, but they just, like, work, and they don't feel too contrived, and the plot just works, and it's fun to watch and, like, watch it unfold. I also think the romances I love a love triangle, I really do, and I there were times where I was rooting for both Raphael and Michael, and, like, I just couldn't decide, and I also change my perspective as I watch it again and again, so sometimes I'm, like, team Raphael, sometimes I'm not. So I think just having that strong chemistry with both characters also contributed to why I love it so much. And then I love mother-daughter relationships, and there's just such a beautiful connection between the grandma, the mom, and Jane that we get to see evolve and change. And sometimes, like, Jane is kind of a mom figure for her own mom, or sometimes she does that for her grandma, or the mom and the grandma have something that they have to work on. And I just think seeing that multi-generational struggle with the three of them in this sort of fun and silly tone, just, like, really hits for me. I really love dynamic stories where characters have complex relationships and maybe their dynamic changes throughout and evolves, and I think to do that, you have to really get to know the characters and have enough context behind them to understand why their relationship is one way in the beginning, why it might change, and how it ends up at the ending. So having enough character growth for each character is really important, especially if that's going to be between your protagonist and your love interest. I think making sure that both characters are balanced in their complexity is really important.